People who have met celebrities, how were they in real life? Met Daniel Radcliffe at pub in Dublin. Really nice dude. I told him I like his work and he thanked me, then introduced me to his friends. Chatted for a little about life and let him be. Met both John Bernthal and DiCaprio at the Natural History Museum while I worked there, and saw a couple others. DiCaprio loves the butterfly enclosure and Bernthal was super cool and down to earth. Told I was excited to see him as the Punisher after confirming his credit card had his name on it, and he made a joke about how, as long as there weren't any walkers, it would be pretty good. He has 2 little boys with super long hair that were just adorable. Met Drew Carey a few years ago outside a fancy hotel in DC. I spotted him and nicely asked for a photo. He said not now, but he would return in 10. He came right up to me 10 minutes later and took the photo, made a few jokes with my camera, shook my hand, asked me my name and had a nice small convo. Class act, Mr. Carey. My buddy delivered his groceries several times and apparently he would always tip $100. James Earl Jones is very gracious and at times even a bit humble. Really nice man. I met Shaq at the Cheesecake Factory in Sacramento shortly after he invested in the Kings. It was my brother's birthday and he said, "What? Happy birthday, little man." Shakes his hand, "Hey. Get my new friend here some cheesecake." And he shook the rest of our hands and went on his way. Incredibly nice guy. And huge. A friend of mine met Shaq at Scottsdale Fashion Square Mall when he was playing for the Phoenix Suns. As he was getting out of his car, VW Jetta, he sees Shaq walking into the mall with some guys. He asked if it would be okay to get a picture with him, and Shaq agreed, but only if my buddy would then take a photo of Shaq squeezed into the front seat of his Jetta. Buddy agreed, they both got their pictures, shook hands, and went on their respective ways. Apparently Shaq thinks pictures of himself squeezed into tiny cars is absolutely hysterical. I served Harrison Ford ice cream once. He was very polite but stern looking. He kept his head low like he just wanted to get his cone and GTFO before anyone realized who he was, so I obliged by doing my best not to freak the frock out. Edit. I don't remember what flavor he got. This was a long time ago in a galaxy, right here. When I was younger, my grandmother and I ran into Robin Williams eating alone in a Whole Foods. We approached him and introduced ourselves and he immediately cleared a space for us to sit and chat with him. I was pretty young at the time, so he spent most of the time trying to make me laugh by doing voices. I may have been too young to truly appreciate it at the time, but looking back I can easily say it's one of the greatest moments of my life and Robin has always had a special spot in my heart because of it. I used to wait tables at the airport and waited on Willem Dafoe several times. Always very nice, quiet, great tipper. He would leave 40 for a 22 bil. Shaq came into my store one night. He went to the beverage cooler and grabbed a vitamin water, which he was sorta the face of at the time. He came up to the registers and hung out for about 45 minutes. He left his vitamin water on the counter, almost empty. It was about 20 minutes later when we realized. Shaq just stole that drink from us. He never paid for the vitamin water. Saw Robin Williams at an ice cream shop. I was on vacation. I got my ice cream and went outside to eat, and then he came out with his and actually sat down at my table. We talked for a solid 4-5 minutes. Best day of my life. Edit. Wow, this post is getting a lot of love. Keep your meeting Robin stories coming. I'm reading them all. I met him when he was in my city filming a movie. On his day off he randomly showed up at a children's hospital and did the whole Patch Adams thing. He was an amazing, gifted human being. Edit. He didn't notify anybody to say he was going to do this. It was not a PR stunt. He just did it because he felt like it. I worked with a guy who used to frequent a club Robin worked at before he got famous, when he was just a struggling stand-up. He said Robin was the nicest, most genuine guy, but he got a bit too manic at times. Sometimes he would come in and just start buying drinks for everyone in the bar, which is a nice gesture, but he had practically no money back then. Dude said he wasn't sure if it was cocaine or that he was manic depressive, but beyond all that he was really sweet and loving. Back when I was a gamer, Robin Williams played Battlefield 2 on the same server as me. He was always a sniper and loved to spam the mic calling out targets in obnoxious ways. I met Marilyn Manson, emo 16-year-old me's hero, and he let me pet his cat while I freaked out about getting to meet him. He's nowhere near as scary in person as his persona or stage character. He's actually very sweet and somewhat shy. He really didn't know how to handle a young girl absolutely bawling tears of joy just from his presence, haha. He also picked up my sister for a picture because we couldn't get both him, roughly 6 feet 2 inches, and my sister, roughly 4'10", together in frame. Overall he's a really chill guy. I've said this before, but I met Kanye at the Montreal airport back in the days between his college dropout and graduation late registration album. So he was known, but not as famous as he is today. We were at the same gate. It was an odd day, like a Tuesday or something, so it wasn't really full. We were both flying to New York. I was with my parents. I came up and said hey, and he was very cool about it. We spoke about music mostly. He asked what I was listening to and what was my favorite sports team. He even made me listen to some of his favorite tracks. All in all, maybe a 15 minutes convo. I was 15 back then, and even though people always seemed to give him shoot, I can't really shake the feeling of that young and chill upcoming artist he gave when we met a decade ago. Maybe the fame got to him, maybe it's just his persona. Also, very soft hands. I've met an array of celebrities, but the people who were the most memorable include Haley Duff. Met her after seeing her off-Broadway. She spelled my name wrong on my playbill, then immediately went to get me a new one so she could re-sign. She was so sweet. Paul Rudd, just as nice and pleasant as you'd imagine. Met him after a Broadway show and he stopped to take pictures with everyone who lingered. Michael Shannon was in the same show as Mr. Rudd. Took the time to chat about movies and sign my playbill. Something about this dude's distinct and sometimes fraying facial expressions always made me feel a bit intimidated, but he's very friendly and kind. James Franco, definitely odd, but I had a friendly interaction. Was at the height of the Franco selfie craze. He instructed me on how to take a good selfie together. Met him after a Broadway performance, so it was pretty crazy, but he tried to interact with as many people as he could. Most recently, Guy Fieri. Went to a book signing semi-ironically to put a cap on a very drawn-out Fieri fandom joke. Turns out, Guy is super nice and definitely not a meme in real life. The book signing was sold out with about 150 people in attendance. He was a bit late and apologized for it, ensuring everyone would get a picture. He followed through and really took the time to meet and greet everyone. Definitely have some real respect for the mayor of Flavortown now. Was serving John Krasinski one night. He was in the bar with a few of his friends. Boss had given us the okay to let them stay and drink after hours with the staff. Super nice guy. He kept asking if he could bring a buddy, as it was his birthday and he had been filming all day. We thought nothing of it and said okay. It's 3 a.m. and the bar is empty except for the staff and JK and his friends. He tells us his friend is around the corner, and asks us if we could turn off the lights, light sparklers, and sing happy birthday. We obviously say yes to this. Right before the door opens, he says, by the way, his name is Matt. Door opens and we start singing. I walk up to the front door with my hand out to greet him, and by the time I got to sing Matt, I realized it was Matt Damon. We spent about an hour and a bit having beers and whiskey, shooting the shit with John, Matt, and their buddies. All of them were super nice guys, was a really cool experience, and I even got a few really cool photos from the night. I was surfing up in Nantucket when I was like 16 and there was a film festival going on. A big guy who has clearly never been on a surfboard before is paddling my way on a big beginner board, basically barely managing to stay on. As he gets closer I realize it's John C. Reilly, the other guy in Will Ferrell movies. I paddle over to him to say hey and he says to me, deadpan, "Hey man, I'm just trying to hang out here with my surf gang. We call ourselves the Dark Bastards," and paddles away. In 2005 when I was 19, and had a really bad stutter, I met Green Day. Cool pointed and laughed in my face, mimicked my stutter, said freak out much. And just walked off when I tried to talk to him. Cut to 2014, Green Day again in town, a friend and I decide to go bowling. Walk into bowling alley on street I live in, and are completely surprised to discover Green Day are in there bowling. I walk up to bar to get a drink, Cool also walks up to bar, and says hi to me. I think frock it and say hi, you know I met you a decade ago when I had a bad stutter, and you mocked me for it, so check it out, no stutter now. He apologized and said that he knows he was a dick back then, he probably thought I was so in awe of him that I couldn't talk, apologized several times, and gave me an AAA pass for the gig the next day, and said come hang out tomorrow so I can prove I'm not an arsehole. So yeah, well and truly accepted that apology and no longer think the guy is a duckhead. Met David Bowie once. Was torn between melting into a frothing mess and pretending I was cool with it all. I'm sure it showed, I have zero poker face skills. I handed him the papers he came in for. He paused, smiled at me ever so slightly and wished me a good day. I don't think I breathed the entire time he was there, I was so tightly wound. Can't even remember if I said anything. I just remember the pause and kinda smile. I used to work in a coffee shop and had a second job in a restaurant when I lived in LA a few years back. I got to meet Will Smith, who was a complete sweetheart with a loud ass booming laugh. Eddie Murphy, who would order the same drink, was always very kind but would come in with a different girl every time. Vin Diesel, who was really nice and courteous. It was especially nice seeing him enjoying some time with his family, his kids were so cute and well behaved. And Christine Taylor, Ben Stiller's wife, who I talked to about 10 or 15 minutes about tea. She was the absolute nicest person ever. My brother met Jackie Chan and filmed a bird flu public service announcement with him. Bro said he was a cool ass dude. Old roommate's brother worked on Rush Hour 3. When filming was done there was a barbecue and he cooked up all the burgers and dogs. I asked Terrence Stamp to say kneel before Zed. For him. He smiled and said. Terrence voice, you know my dear, a lot of people ask me that. But that's not even my favorite line. My favorite line is when I rip the top off of the White House and swoop down to the president who says oh God. And I say. Zed voice, no, Zod. So yeah, cool. Met Bryan Cranston once at the Bellagio whilst on holiday in Vegas. I was a bit fanboyish and blurted, OMG. It's Heisenberg. Almost immediately his facial expression went angry, and he walked straight up to me and actually muttered, how dare you call me out like that, if people knew who I was, I wouldn't be in this business, next time you call me out like that be ready for a barrel. Then he smiled and starting laughing and we ended up talking for about 10 minutes or so about BB. Gave me an autograph. I was so happy, asked him if he wanted to join a few of us for a drink but he politely declined as he was waiting for his MRS and daughter, cool guy. My son was a Make-A-Wish kid a few years ago while he was battling cancer. He wanted to meet Travis Pastrana. We went down to Arizona to watch him race NASCAR and hang out with him for a while. He was almost a little uncomfortable being the center of attention, but so nice. My son was 8 at the time and kind of clammed up when Travis showed up. He talked dirt bikes with my son and showed us around his NASCAR trailer. He made a point to kind of get on my son's level, so to speak, and soon they were talking dirt bikes, Nitro Circus, and kind of joking around. My wife and I were very grateful that he did that for our son. I pass by Linda Hamilton's house on the way to work each morning. Whenever I see her outside, she smiles and waves. So I guess things are getting serious, lol. Tony Bennett, nicest guy ever. I was coming home in military uniform, he sent a breakfast from first class back to me. Met Terry Crews at WDW waiting to ride Tower of Terror with him. My friend and I just nonchalantly said hi to him, plus that we liked his work. No one else seemed to know who he was besides us. He said he was trying to spend time with his daughter and to not make a scene, lol. 10/10 would respect a celebrity trying to have family time again. Nice guy. When I was in high school, I worked at a local amusement park and we constantly had celebrities in and out of the park. Some of them were incredibly nice while others were incredibly rude. My standout moment of someone who was very rude is Justin Bieber. I was putting him on a roller coaster and he was a total smart ass about it. Told me that his life was worth more than I could imagine and I have to make sure he's secure. I slammed the bar down quick. The Jonas Brothers are another group who were quite awful. I don't know them well enough, but one of them looked me dead in the eyes and told me his sunglasses were worth more than anything I'd ever own and I better make sure they do not get lost. Lil Wayne is also terrified of roller coasters, which was pretty funny to experience. Help Sandra Bullock at a clothing store I used to work at find shoes for her and her son Louis. She absolutely glowed. Wonderful woman. Would suggest meeting her. So nice. Cute kid. 10/10 would help try on shoes again. Met Snoop in an airport. He was really nice, but I could tell he was trying to keep a low profile. So he talked to me for about 10 minutes, one of his YUGE bodyguards came out of the woodwork and offered to take a picture to get me to scram. Took the picture and left him alone. Really nice guy though. Also, extremely long pinky fingernail. Met the cast of The Office in 2008 using my Make-A-Wish on it. This was the height of John Krasinski's fame and he knew it. Just came off as cocky. Pam too, unfortunately, she was just not into hanging out and stuff. I could see it was awkward for her. However, Steve Carell was far and away one of the nicest people I have ever met. Not even just saying that, he was like insanely awesome. Just toured me around the set for like an hour, then we all had lunch together and he like pulled up a seat for me and stuff. It was amazing. Let me sit in the scene for certain shots. It was like an out-of-body experience watching them film. Episode titled New Boss. Meeting Andy and Ryan, whatever, just gonna use character names, was cool too. Andy was like so hyped to say what's up. I was kind of looking around in awe the whole time and he goes, "How old are you?" 16, 17. Like to party? I reply, "Yeah, I'm 17. He goes, "I got this movie coming out called The Hangover. I think you'll love it." Turns out it's now hands down one of my favorite comedies. About halfway through the day we're just hanging out and Ryan pops in through the door and everyone including the cast bombards him with hugs and hellos and questions and all that. He had apparently been gone for some time. We got to meet him and exchange hellos and whatnot. Then he asks me kinda what Ed asked me, my age. He told me with the biggest grin on his face I just got back from Germany filming a WW2 movie with Brad Pitt. He was so damn happy I would be willing to bet it's all he talked about the next month. Everyone not mentioned was awesome, Kevin, Oscar, Angela, all the nicest folks you could imagine. Creed definitely just plays himself in that show, the dude was bonkers. TLDR. Met the cast of The Office, everyone was awesome but Jim and Pam were a little weird.